Yeah. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello,
Hey, hey,
fellows. What's up, my brothers?
What's going
doing
on,
very
fellas?
well.
Hey, man, I'm
Doing
doing
very
good.
well.
Doing
We're
good.
back again. Another Sunday, hanging
Yes,
out with the Knowledge and Power crew. Thank
Oh, yeah.
everybody for joining us. And
thank you.
yeah, so we are in for a great topic tonight. Um, it's called. I'll just give the title, and we can get into it whenever you guys are ready. It's called "What I Would Say to My Younger Self."
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I thought, a good way to kind of prep the um, the discussion tonight as I came across. I'm sure we all remember the infamous the Mamba,
Oh,
Kobe
yeah.
Bryant,
oh
and
yeah,
he
My
actually
man.
wrote a letter to his younger self. So I just kind of wanted to read a little bit of that
Okay.
before we get started, and we'll just kind of launch and go from there. And he
Let's
says,
do it.
"Dear 17-year-old self." As again, this is Kobe Bryant. Dear 17-year-old self, when your Laker dream comes true tomorrow, you need to figure out a way to invest in the future of your family and friends. This sounds simple, and you may think it's a no brainer, but take some time to think on it further. I said invest. I did not say give. Let me explain. Then he goes on because it's a very long letter, so I'm not going to read the whole thing.
Okay.
hmm
But I'll read this little chunk right here. He said, at time as time goes on, you will see them grow independently and have their own ambitions, talking about his kids, and their own lives, and your relationship with all of them will be much better as a result. There's plenty of more I could write to you, but at 17, I know you don't have the attention span to sit through 2,000 words.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. And
Boom.
that's what we deal with today. That attention span is
Man,
not like it used to be, man. And
That's the truth.
man, he coined it great
he did.
in that letter there. Like I said, it's a good read. So I would advise anybody if you can just kind of Google it, pull it up. He gave this thing some really, really good thought as he was nearing to the end of his basketball career. So
Okay.
you
Mhm.
had a late 30-year-old Kobe, 30
Okay.
something year old. I mean, he was closer to, like 36, 38, writing to his 17-year-old self.
Mm.
So that being said, that's what we're talking about tonight,
All
fellas.
right.
And
Yeah,
Awesome topic. Awesome topic.
awesome
pretty good.
topics. So, yep. But before we jump off into that, Nate, you do your thing when you encourage folks to jump on
Oh,
board with
yeah.
the
Yeah.
podcast.
First of all, we want to thank you for coming on, joining us again this week. Welcome to the Knowledge and Power Show, where you can come get you some knowledge and power. I read a scripture today that said, when you associate with wise people, and I'm paraphrasing, you become wise. And we hope that on this broadcast that we share enough wisdom that will, help you to think a little differently and encourage you to pursue your own wisdom in your own life. But we want you to subscribe to the channel. If you're watching live on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. Let us know that you like what you're seeing. Hit that subscribe button. And if you're listening by way of podcast, please subscribe to the podcast outlet you're listening on, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor.fm, and so many others. Please be loving and hit that subscribe button. We appreciate that. And share. Most of all, share with your family and friends. Let people know that we're on and that you are supporting this broadcast.
Yep. Good deal.
Do that
Good
right now.
deal.
Yeah.
So, good evening to one of our listeners, S. Bell. Just
Good
said good evening.
evening.
Good
Thank you for
evening.
joining. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. So, guys, before we get off into what advice, because I'm sure you guys have given us some thought, and you're going to share with us what you would say to your younger self if you could. Um, what is the purpose of do you think of a person wishing that they could reach back and give advice to their younger self?
Mm,
What do you think is the aim? What is the benefit that they're hoping
that's good.
to get? Anybody?
I think it would give you a better outlook, even going forward from where you are, even writing back to that or referring back to that your younger self. It
Okay.
maybe could bring awareness to things you missed out before you even begin writing or making that reference. So
Hmm.
going forward from today, you got a different outlook on
Hmm.
where you were when you were that age.
That's good.
Okay. Okay. Nate, you got
Um,
anything?
yeah, I think that. Can you repeat the question so I make sure I get it right?
I was just wondering. I thought it was very genius of Kobe, and I'm sure he's not the only one that's done that before. But I thought it was genius of him to address a letter to his younger self. But I guess my question to provoke the conversation is, what do you think is the goal or the benefit behind
Okay.
a person reaching out to their younger self?
Well, I'll speak for myself, of course. Hopefully, it's representative of other people. But I think the importance is that when you get to a certain point in life, if you've lived enough life, you often reflect and say, what have I learned? Where do I find myself right now
Mm,
in terms of where I thought I would
Mhm.
be by now?
Yeah.
mm, okay.
And what decisions did I make along the way to get me here? And you reflect on that stuff. And when you look back to your younger self, you will probably feel like, if I can tell you
Hmm.
this point right here, or these points right here, it may make your journey a little better. You want to go back and you want to reach back and impact and affect the life that you started in a more positive manner,
Okay.
because you know the hurts, the pains, the struggles, the trials, all that stuff you've already gone through, and you recognize, if we're all honest, that some of that stuff was unnecessary.
Say that
Hmm.
again.
I said, if we're honest with ourselves, some of that stuff we went through was unnecessary,
Okay.
Yes.
and so it only served to hurt us. And if we could reach back and tell our younger selves, look, there's things you
Yeah.
have to go through, but these things you really don't. And if you do this, you'll avoid it altogether and
Yeah.
still end up in the place you want to be.
Yeah.
I think it's just like a self reflection and kind of a reminiscence kind of thing. Like, man, if I could go back and do this
Hmm.
again, this is how I would do it. And we wish we could tell our younger selves that same information.
Yeah. Um, wow, that's good. And to our listeners, if you want to chime in, please, we would love to read some of your comments about what you would say to your younger self.
Yeah.
Look, taking a dive again at Kobe's letter. He goes on to say, I'm just going to read this part here. After he talked about there's so much more he could write, but he knows that the attention span, you can't sit through another 2,000 words. He goes on to say, the next time I write to you, I may touch on the challenges of mixing blood with business. The most important advice I can give you is to make sure your parents remain parents and not managers.
Mm.
So yeah,
Now,
um,
was he speaking from personal experience? I
oh
don't
yeah,
know.
he had a it was a tumultuous relationship with his parents.
I
It
heard
was
he and his
ugly.
mom had an serious issue.
Yeah,
That I know.
and his dad as well.
Okay.
Dad ego because he played in the league as well, but Kobe took it to the next level. I
Hmm.
mean, we remember Kobe. We don't remember his dad per
Yeah,
se.
I don't know who that
And,
is.
and then when he got married young, they felt like she was just out for his money, and that was a
Right.
big rip since they
Yeah,
didn't
I remember
accept his
that. Yeah.
wife. Yeah, he just kind of walked away from the family. But anyway, that being said, when you talked about Nate and your scenario about where you are now, the hard times that you're facing. Well, we sit in a pandemic still.
Hmm.
Um, we are facing, and this is no offense to all of our listeners. I know we don't have just African American listeners, but we're sitting in a situation where we're hearing on the news more and more where people are just being murdered, by police.
Mm.
Because I don't know if you guys heard about the most recent one.
No.
Um, in Minnesota. It just happened over the weekend. I think it was Friday. Um,
Oh man.
They didn't knock. They walked in a person's apartment and within 10 seconds opened fire. But the guy did get up off his couch underneath a blanket and he was holding a gun. But even
Mm.
still, we're in a situation now where we're facing a lot of what seems like injustice
Yeah.
towards us. So to craft a letter now, sitting at the age that us we are, or some of us are, man, that would be a really interesting letter to forewarn yourself. And how do you keep from getting overwhelmed, to keep pushing, to just kind of keep being productive in society with all that we're facing? Did you guys hear me, or did I lose you?
Was that an open question, or I thought you were
Yeah,
just
I
being
was trying to see, was
rhetorical?
that
Yeah,
a question?
that was a question.
Okay.
That was a question. I mean, as a
Oh
black man,
man,
we'll go
as
there since you
as a black man,
that's the skin that you sit in right
yeah,
now.
that's the skin I sit
Uh-huh.
in.
Yep. So
And
this again, this
as a young black man, I really didn't have a lot of the issues that my sons and other young black men face today.
mm-hmm.
True.
I did have some run-ins with the police because I was in a neighborhood where they have a very high presence
Yeah.
because there were drugs and gangs in my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And my run-ins with police back then were seeing older boys getting in trouble,
Mm-hmm.
and if any of us were anywhere around that, we would see what the police would do to these older boys, and they would yell at us and tell us to go home or ask us what we saw, that kind of stuff. But
Right.
I never had any interactions like that with the police until I was much older. But we had the drugs, the gangs, the violence, so we had a lot of police. But what I learned from watching what happened in my neighborhood was to kind of just avoid that whole scene.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was blessed to be able to not get involved with gangs, um, and all that violence and all that kind of stuff. Um, I had it's another story, but I had a protector in the neighborhood that was a family member who was a gang member. Because I was a cousin, he put the word out, said, "Don't mess with Nate." So I avoided a lot of crazy drama because of that. So I was a blessing in disguise. But today, man, it's a whole new ball game. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's a whole new ball game. Even when I was coming up, if I got pulled over or questioned by a police officer, I never had the fear that I would not come out of that alive.
Wow.
Right.
I
Right.
never had that in the back of my mind, like, oh, here to come the police. I might not come out
Okay.
of this
So
alive.
when did it start then? When did that fear begin to I don't know, start dancing around or start hovering over you? At what point in life?
Well,
What
it's just
stage?
the last 20 years of what's been going on that we've seen in the media. And forgive me because I don't know all the names, but I'm sure other people can name many names of
Oh yeah.
um, young men of color who have been harassed and hurt or killed by the police.
Right.
And especially when I have sons now in that demographic,
Mm-hmm.
I become aware of what's going on. And so now you have to formulate conversations with your children about potential involvement or interactions with the police. And so that's kind of when I first started having children and all these things started happening in the world. Um, as social media grew, the exposure to this kind of stuff grew. And so when you see these things in the news, you see these things on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all this kind of thing, it starts to rumble in the back of your head. Oh man, so and so's driving now. So so and so's going to work now. So and so's out with his friends at the mall.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if police interaction pops up? So you start to worry about your children getting home safely. You want to, like I said, have those conversations with them about what to do, what not to do, what to say, what not to say. And yeah, I just always felt bad because I didn't grow up like that. Now I know people our age did grow up like that,
Yeah.
but I did not. So I didn't have a real reference point to be able to clearly communicate from experience. This is what happens, and this is what you do. I had to rely on information I gathered, in the last 20, 25 years.
Gotcha. Jake, you want to weigh in on anything?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I pretty much lived a sheltered life and grew up in a small community where we basically knew all the police officers. So that whole scenario is foreign to me, but you hear about it and you see it, but I still can't even imagine it today, as a black man in my city, an adult, because we are kind of a close-knit environment, even though now today our city and our young people are living and experiencing that violent life, but it's not from the police, it's from each other.
From each other. Wow.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
So
Mm.
yeah. So
Yeah, Jake.
my community was just different growing up.
Right.
But when you see it and you hear it like in other places, it's like unfathomable, because even with Trayvon Martin, I'm like, are you serious? And then, well, all of them really, just to know that the officers of the law
Yeah.
would misuse their authority in that way is unthinkable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm gonna read this last passage here, and then we can get into our own, and we can listen to other people. Again, this is from Kobe's letter. He says, he closes it out with this: "Your life is about to change, and things are about to come at you very fast. But just like this sink in a bite when you lay down at night after another 9-hour training day. Trust me, setting things up right from the beginning will avoid a ton of tears and heartache, some of which remains to this day." So he was just trying to encourage himself. If you set things up from the very beginning the right way, then you would just avoid a lot of the pitfalls that's gonna come at you. But can we really avoid that stuff though? I mean, don't we learn? Don't we learn from our pitfalls? Don't we learn from our mistakes?
Yeah. Yes.
Now, I was just thinking that. Yeah.
I was thinking that too.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jake.
I was thinking the same thing. We have to go through something in order to know, how to work around that or how to avoid it the next time it arrives or pops up before you. So you can't just dismiss all your trials and, things you go through. You got to have a little something in there.
Mm.
So, yeah, looking back, you might now some stuff. Yeah, okay, I could have avoided that. Sometimes it's just listening to your parents or listening to somebody that said, "Well, don't do." It's like the hot stove scenario. Don't touch it, but you just got to do it because they said don't do it.
Right.
So some people have to learn the hard way, and some people you can tell them,
Yeah.
don't do it.
Yeah. I guess if I were to think about it, when you said like listen to parents,
Yeah.
I guess if I were to share a letter like this one that I just kind of skimmed through from Kobe to someone, they were to read mine, I would hope that my letter would actually prick them in such a way, prick their heart in such a way that they would kind of cross over some of the missteps of not listening to your parents. I mean, I would like to leave something so impactful in a letter that it would almost behoove them to say that I would be crazy reading this letter not to listen to my parents. I mean, they're on my side. They want the best for me. I mean, I don't know how we lose focus as that.
Yeah.
I don't know how we lose focus, as a young person growing up in that aspect, because
Right.
I know I really felt like my parents were always the fun snatchers.
Oh
I
man.
mean,
Yeah.
it's just the truth. So I definitely would include in my letter to my younger self, dude, for real, listen to them. They mean you no harm.
Right. They love you.
I mean, I knew that they loved me. I just felt like,
Right.
in my opinion, that they didn't have enough traveled world experience
Mm.
Yeah.
to really be able to tell me where I was trying to go,
Right.
which I really wasn't going nowhere because I didn't know where I was trying to go.
We know so much
But
better than that now as parents ourselves.
Right.
exactly. But if you sit at the feet of your elders to just kind of glean from their stories, I mean, really,
Man,
you can you can learn from that, man.
Yeah,
You can
definitely.
learn. I used to tell this story when I used to work with young people in my former job, and we just kind of talk about not having to repeat some of the things that
Mhm.
we've done already in life. So I use the example of a person climbed a roof to go down the chimney to get in the house, and on their way down, they got bit by bats, rats, scraped themselves up on the chimney, and broke an ankle when they landed at the bottom of the chimney.
Dang.
And they came out, opened up the front door, and said, "Okay, I secured, our interest in the house. Come on in." And for you to be standing outside and say, "Nope, I don't want to come in through the door. I'm gonna go in the same way you went in. I'm gonna climb the chimney and come down like you did." That's a person that's just crazy there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To
Yeah, that's
repeat
crazy.
to repeat something that you don't have to repeat when you saw the effects that it did on the person. They broke their ankle, they got bit by bats. I mean, they're bleeding, they're scraped up,
Yeah.
they look disheveled, but you're saying, "Nope, I want to go the same route you went."
Exactly.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
that's
That's a
crazy.
person. That's a person that's just going to have to learn the hard way, like Jake said.
Yeah.
No, nothing you can do for that person.
Yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately,
Right.
we have too many people that will choose that path.
Right.
Yeah. But
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know why. I don't know if it's that they really feel like, or if I really felt like I was going to gain some kind of new discovery from what you didn't discover when you went that way. I don't know
Maybe,
what it is, man.
maybe
I
you
just,
think you'd be able to take the same path and do it better and not get injured.
Hmm.
yeah,
And a lot of times it's a person don't want to be told what to do.
Hmm.
It's I got this. So
mm,
I do what I want to do,
Yeah,
you know.
it's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope because we know better. We
Hmm.
know better. We've experienced, we've seen, we felt. So we actually know what coming down that chimney is like.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
you can see the evidence of that path, of that journey.
Yeah.
But you still say, I'm going to do it go the same way you came.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you this question: do you think it's just us? Oh, someone threw in the chat. Ooh, that was good. It's pride. It's
Yeah.
pride.
Yeah.
Pride, man.
Yeah, that is so
Oh, that's
true.
it.
Pride is huge because it makes you think that you can do
Yeah.
something outside of what's been an established pattern or instruction.
Hmm.
Yeah. And it could be a thing of, do we actually look at our parents as being failures, or we don't have a mentor that we can look up to because no one really made it in our eyes? What do you guys think about that?
Well, you see how Kobe said, "Don't let your parents be your managers.
Yeah.
Keep them in the place of parents." And I think that kind of speaks to that because, I mean, they're humans too. And in the position of his managers, maybe they lost something in the
And the
parental ring.
parental.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. So, I mean, it's a matter of where your mindset is regarding who your authority figure is.
Right. Right.
Hmm.
I think um, if I were to sit down and we should have did that. We knew we were going to talk about this, so we should have actually wrote out a letter so we could read. But I guess we have to come off the cuff. But one of the things that I think that I would definitely put in my letter for sure,
Hmm.
um, live the life that I'm trying to be about. And what am I saying with that? Is I was sharing this with Nate earlier in the week, Jake. I don't think you
Hmm.
responded or whatever. We were having this conversation. I
Yeah.
was telling Nate, I said, when I was introduced to God, um, I didn't fully take advantage of who he wanted to be in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I just took on the title of being a believer. So if I could write a letter, talk back to my younger self, I would say, live the life, for real, live the life that you say you're about. Don't pretend, um, don't, placate, don't try to
Mm-hmm.
fake folks out, but if you're going to surrender your life to God, really live it. Don't live it in
Yeah.
front of people, but live it behind closed doors,
Yeah.
when it's just an audience of one. And I think that, honestly speaking, that was my biggest mistake, is that I accepted God into my life, but I was still trying to control and navigate where I want to go myself.
Mm-hmm.
When I thought I was hearing things in prayer and I didn't like what I heard, and
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of taking me in a direction that I didn't want to go in.
Mm-hmm.
It was nothing for me just to tune you out. I learned how to tune people out and shut them down so well that when I gave my life to God, I just lumped him in with everybody else. Like, I'll just tune this out. I don't want to do this.
Mm.
That's
Wow.
not where I'm going. That's not what I
Whoa.
have planned for myself. So I would really tell myself, no.
Yeah,
If you're gonna say you're a believer, live as one.
Yeah.
that's
Um,
good.
yep, yep. So and I can truly say I did not. I did not
Mm.
for a very long time.
Okay.
Did you have
So
any Jonah experiences because of that?
oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. Do we have the time? Do we have the time? But I mean, I just had a hard head, man. I was determined to keep doing it my way, thinking I was going to get better results
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
when it was already proven that it's not working, dude. It's not working. And really, it got to a point where I can't even say that I struggled in my prayer time. God would just expose some things to me, and I would see the outcome, and I would know it. But for some reason, I felt like I was going, juke him and just do it a different way, and it was going to be like, see, I got different results because I really took my time and navigated through this thing. And it
Mm.
just, yeah,
Yeah.
I made some dumb moves, man. I made some dumb moves
Oh
that
yeah.
really, um, yeah,
Yeah. I
Mm.
think we
that
all
that
can
that
attest to
that that,
that.
that I would say, still affect me now. So you just have to now not be a prisoner to some of
Hmm.
those decisions that you make.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yep.
And and that's the point of looking back or speaking to your younger self right there, because they
Yeah.
can still linger on and affect your present life if you
Yeah.
don't. Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, I would even say too, um, I would tell myself, dude, stay on the course, take college serious.
Right.
Mhm.
I always say I went to college and I threw the most expensive party that could ever be thrown because I got a student loan, I got debt,
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
and all I
Mhm.
did was party, and I got kicked out of college and got
Yeah.
sent home. I mean, that was my reality. How do you go from being a focused, driven, honor student to you get here and you just get buck wild? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
It happens.
I covered and concealed and I lied to everybody. So, being
Mm-hmm.
more I learned transparency definitely in my later age,
Hmm.
to just, be real, just tell the truth before you get exposed, because somebody's going to always embellish what
Yeah.
you've done. So you might as well just be honest and tell the truth. So I would definitely tell my younger self, stay on the course. You went to school for a
Yeah.
purpose, knock it out, and go to the next journey, next chapter in life. So a lot, Nate, what you said earlier, a lot of things we didn't have to go through.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
there were a lot of journeys and chapters that lasted a lot longer than they needed to
Yeah.
in my
Unnecessarily.
life.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I wish there was a way to implement that into college age kids, man, because I've known so many people who messed over full ride scholarships
Full
the first
ride.
year.
Man.
The first year, just because of that reason, partying and whole new world, and you got a
Mm-hmm.
full ride and just blew it. I know
Blew it.
so many people who have
I've
done that.
heard those stories too, man. That's sad.
Yep,
Insanity. That's what one of our listeners just said. Insanity.
That's
That's
it, man.
that's what
Doing
it
the
could
same
be.
thing, expecting different results
yeah.
Yeah.
over and over and over and over and over again, and everything always ends
Hmm.
the same, but you keep on doing it. Yeah, that's insanity. It's insane in the membrane.
In there,
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So, I mean, I shared my 2 nuggets. I mean, you guys got anything that y'all would share
With the younger self.
self? Yeah, with your younger self.
you going, Nate?
Yeah, I'll go. I got like a laundry list, a litany
Ah,
of things I would tell my younger self. Man, you talking about the unnecessary stuff that we go through.
mhm.
Man, you used the word Ray. You said you were stupid.
Did I call myself stupid?
Yes, you
Did
did.
he?
I don't
Yes, you
believe I
did.
did.
I believe you said you were stupid. I believe you
Okay.
said dumb. I don't know.
I'm
Dumb or
I'm
stupid.
a, I'm gonna go back and listen to this, and I'm gonna see if
Right,
Nate
Let,
because
let
I
the
don't
got at
remember.
me.
let the listeners come on and tell us if Ray said he called himself stupid. I believe
But
that's what I
that's
heard.
okay.
Maybe I
Yes,
just
go
heard
ahead.
you say that. I don't know. No, but seriously, yeah, I got a couple things too, because I don't want to take up all the time. I think the most important thing, I'm going to give a practical thing and then a really life one.
Hmm.
Practical thing I would tell myself. If I go back right now and tell my younger self, my 12-year-old self, because at 12 years old,
Hmm.
I got my first little side hustle job,
You
Hmm.
sell
making money
drugs,
under
Nate?
the making money under well, no, making money under the table at the party store,
You was gambling?
recycling bottles.
Okay.
Okay, so the owner would pay us under the table, and we would come in and do all the bottles after they got collected and put them in the different bags and get them ready to get picked up and all that stuff. So it's about money.
That was honest.
If I can go
Hmm.
back to my younger self, I would say protect your credit at all costs.
Ooh, that's a
I
good
would,
one.
because in high school, I was fortunate enough to have a class that talked about it was economics, but the teacher
Hmm.
really doubled down on personal finance, investing in the stock market,
Wow.
and I can't remember the other one, but it was something about banking and something like that.
Hmm.
But he really talked about, you know, how to handle your money when you get a paycheck, saving for yourself, putting stuff away, paying your bills on time. And for those of you who know me, I was a bit of a knucklehead in my first 3 years of high school. So sometimes I paid attention, sometimes I didn't. And that was one of those classes I just didn't pay attention. And
Hmm.
in my household, I didn't get a lot of lessons about personal finance.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I got my first Hudson's car, who remembers Hudson's in the audience? Hudson's,
Hudson's. I remember.
now Macy's. I got my Hudson's card, and I
I
got a
knew somebody.
J.C.
I
Penney
Oh
knew
yeah,
card.
somebody. I knew
Hudson's.
somebody that worked at Hudson's.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I did
remember
too.
Hudson's.
I had a J.C. Penney card and a Hudson's card out of high school. Okay,
Hmm.
and my ignorant self thought I could just use the card, buy what I want, and that's it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The concept of paying it back and paying it back on time never resonated with me.
Nope.
When I get the bill, I'm like, oh, whatever. Oh, whatever. I just, and that, needless to say, long story short, they went into default collections.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
In
dad
high
began,
school?
yeah, by the
Right
time I
out.
got to, when we moved to Syracuse, um, I still had a J.C. Penney card active, but the Hudson's card had defaulted already.
Yeah.
And, you know, long story short, that began my bad credit journey. And I
Hmm.
never took it upon myself and come it upon myself to learn about bill paying and protecting your credit and building a good credit score. Because when you get of age in the real
Yeah.
world, you're going to
Yeah.
need that credit.
You need
If you
it.
want to buy a house, if you want to buy a car, if you want to get anything at a good interest rate,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to have great credit, or you're gonna be at the buy here, pay here lot.
Wow,
Trying
Nate.
to
That's
get you a
good,
car.
man.
You're gonna
Yeah.
be living in apartments all your life, renting all your life, because
Yeah.
and now you can't even get car insurance without good credit or
Wow,
a good
man.
rate on your car insurance, I should say.
That's
Yeah.
good, Nate. That's
So
good.
that was one that I would go back and tell myself strongly. You know,
Can can can
protect
can
your
I
credit, save your money. Go ahead, bro.
Hmm.
can I throw this in there?
Hmm.
I when you said to protect your credit thing, I
Yeah.
thought about I thought about at Central when we got credit cards
Hmm.
We
just for
all got
filling
credit
out.
cards.
Yeah, we got credit cards exactly. And let me
Yeah.
tell you, and this is a
I
shameless
tried.
plug. This is a
Look, I
shameless
tried.
plug. I got me a MasterCard. My
Woo.
dad told me don't get it, and I went on a shopping spree. But the one thing that took me under, that it took me, I would say, not exaggerating, about probably 15, 16 years to pay off, was a Janet Jackson Rhythm Nation cassette tape.
The 9.99
Really?
cassette tape took you not 16 years to pay.
Right. The interest.
That's a
Oh
shame. That's a
man!
shameless plug because she just did her documentary last week, and I just enjoyed it so much.
I did
Wow.
too.
But yeah, that man, I kept getting bills to the house when I
Mm-hmm.
moved. It followed me to Syracuse. I
Ignored
couldn't pay
them.
off. I ignored them, man, because Janet Jackson took me under. She wrecked my credit.
Resonate.
You need to write her a strongly worded letter.
So I finally paid
Right.
it off, man, in my 40s,
Isn't that
30s or
something?
40s. That's crazy.
Wow. That
Isn't
is
that
crazy.
something?
But I'm sorry for interrupting. You can go ahead and
No,
finish.
it's okay, man. It's just that's just one of the things that if I can go back in time and do it all over again,
Hmm.
or if I can go back in time and tell myself, I
Yeah.
hope my younger self would listen. I really do,
Yeah.
because that would save you a lot of unnecessary struggles,
Yep.
financially.
Definitely. I wish our economics class was like that
Yeah,
when
we had
in
a
high
great
school.
teacher because I've heard other people talk about their high school experience and they didn't get that,
No, we didn't get that at all.
and I took that for granted. And I blew that opportunity because I really didn't pay attention to him.
Hmm.
He looked like Tom Selleck back in the day, Magnum
Oh
PI.
yeah, big
Yeah.
mustache.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
That's
flowing
crazy.
hair. But
Yeah.
yeah, the other thing I would tell myself, and I would really want to sit myself down and really hash this out, would be the pursuit of life without
Hmm.
fear.
Without fear.
What do you mean?
Without fear.
Hmm.
I know that fear has held me back and been debilitating in my life for many years as a young person. I would refuse to live for the future because I was just trying to manage the moment, and the future was just too ambiguous and scary. What if this didn't work out? What if I mess up? What if I try and I fail? It's just safer not to try. It's just safer to stay here and just exist, because at
Yeah.
least I
Gotcha.
can control that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things I didn't do that I wanted to do because I was afraid to do it.
Out of fear.
And there's a few times in my life I can count on one hand where I just busted fear in the mouth and I went for it. And in a few of those times it worked out. Some of those didn't work out. That's just the nature of things.
Hmm.
But I think that the fear of it not working out, the anxiety that's associated with what might happen if I try,
Yeah.
helped me back from doing anything. Like for
Okay.
instance, I used to have an excruciating fear of picking up the phone and talking to bill collectors.
Woo! I think
Oh,
every black person
You know what I'm saying?
around the world, every black
But
person.
it works out better if you talk to them.
it
Yeah.
does. It
But I
actually
would have an
does.
excruciating fear of not talking to because number one, I didn't have any money, I didn't know what to say, and what if they don't give me a break? And what if they don't do this? And what if they come down hard on me? What if? What if stop me in my tracks from doing a lot of things? And if I could talk to my younger self, I would say, there is no fear when you have a God on your side and that has your back. You might fail, but in failure there's lessons. A loss is a failure, rather is not a loss. It's an opportunity to learn.
Man.
And you learn from it. You come back stronger, wiser, better. If I could
Okay.
teach myself that as a young person,
Hmm.
I would have finished college on time.
Yeah.
I would have done a whole lot more differently. I probably have a whole lot of businesses.
Yeah.
I'd be that mogul
Definitely.
I've always dreamed myself to be because I would have took the chance and tried. But
Gotcha.
when you sit back and never try,
Yeah.
it's like that guy who has the talents and bury it
Hmm.
and never did anything with it. But at least he had that talent.
Yeah.
But he never did
Yeah.
anything with it because he was afraid that he might lose it. He
Yeah.
might invest it and lose all his money and the master would be mad at him. But yeah, those two things I think kind of shaped my paradigm as a
Okay.
younger person. Now that I'm of age and have lived a little bit longer, some of those things don't hinder me anymore.
Gotcha.
And the fact that I'm sitting here doing this podcast is an
Right,
example of me not being fearful anymore.
man.
But yeah, there's so
Good
much
deal.
more. We should probably do a book on this, fellas. But yeah, there's a lot of things I would tell my younger self, especially when it comes to like relationships.
Yeah,
But that's all I got right now. I don't want to take all the time.
Yep. Jake. Next up, Jake.
man. Both those things resonated with me
Hmm.
definitely because both of you know how I was when we decided to start this podcast. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, you were a little apprehensive.
yeah, but that fear, but I'm sitting here doing it. So,
Hmm.
but
Yep.
definitely for me, I would have told my younger self to be more confident
Hmm.
in who I was as a person
That's it. That's
because
it.
I always, like, I'm sure everybody knows I had like eye issues. It's a vision impairment. So, grew up wearing these thick glasses and getting picked at from time to time and I think I would just that kind of caused me to go into a shell. I was hiding most of my childhood from people, from period. I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want to be noticed. And even today, I don't like being a spectacle. But during those days, I just wanted to blend into the background. And because if it felt like anytime I was out front, somebody had a joke or somebody had something to poke fun at. And so I know, and turns out now, and this was during school time. So the people who I thought or who was actually doing that to me, and I thought it was more across the board than it was, I didn't realize they saw me as someone who was cooler than I actually believed myself to be.
Okay.
And I didn't realize that until adulthood with the same friends from school. And I'm like, man, if I had known this back then, I would have been, more outgoing or more, you know, friendly and congenial. So that's one thing. I definitely and that crossed over to like things that I would have followed my dreams more as a second thing because I always heard everything. I'm a creative person, and a lot of things that I was good at and was natural at and wanted to go into, I would always hear a knockdown or like something negative, opposition towards it. Like, well, there's no money in that,
Yeah.
or wrong kind of people are doing that, and whatever. It was the opposition, like so many times with creative things that I wanted to go into. So now here I am after working so many years in different jobs, pursuing my dreams of art and theater and music and all these things. And I probably would have been a lot further ahead, now had I had that strength and that inner strength back then to say to myself, follow your dream, no matter what, follow your dream. Because these are the gifts that God has given you as the power to get wealth, as well as to bring you before great men and make room for you, your livelihood, all of that is in the gifts that he put inside of each one
Yeah.
of us, every person. So, and a lot of times I had opportunities that came up and I kind of let them pass by because of, that fear or that opposition that would replay in my mind each time. And I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't. And so definitely I would have been more confident. I would have told myself to be more confident. Don't be afraid to stand out. Don't be afraid to be who you are and show who you are, regardless of, what's going on around you, what people say or think. That was another big one. Worrying about, who's saying what or what are they going to think?
Yeah.
Who cares? That's what I would have
Who
said.
cares, really? Yeah.
Who cares? Then
Yeah.
you are God's child. You are who God created you to be. So walk in that and be proud of it. So
Yeah. I mean, and then too, I don't want to make, this, what would you tell your younger self, kind of a gloom and doom type thing? Because there are some
mhm,
things that have happened that have, I'll say for me, I'll speak for me, that have benefited my character.
yeah.
Because I just was always, I'm not gonna say defiant is a great thing, but I've learned some good lessons
hmm
and being defiant, and then there's some things that if I were to give myself a heads up warning about, I mean, man, I would be changing some major things in life
hmm
that I don't know if I would want to change. So do you
Okay.
kind of get do you kind of get what I'm saying?
Like what? Like attitude type things or?
Um,
For example.
I'll just say, one of the big things I had to struggle with
hmm
was because of fear gripped me also, but the thing I kind of masked over fear with was being prideful and arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
So for me to get kicked out of college was the
hmm
best thing that could have ever happened to me,
Okay.
because it showed me that I had to, I don't know, depend on another source, another way, and how's I gonna make it through life? Because my thought was I'm gonna go get this booming job, get all this money, and just live this great bachelor life, and just live. I mean, just fancy free.
hmm
But me failing in college, number one is college is where I found God.
Yeah.
Um, so me having to fall on bended knees and reach to Him as my source, as my strength to restore me, a broken joker like I was,
hmm
it made me appreciate 27 years later when I finally got my degree
Mm.
that, wow,
Oh,
God has carried me, took care of my family
yeah.
all these years, and I was paperless
Yeah.
until I finally graduated from college in 2016.
Mm.
That was
Mhm.
God, man. And I wouldn't have it no other way, because what did it do to me? It humbled me.
Yeah.
It made me become more appreciative to the struggle. It made me look at everybody differently, that, because you're going to run across some people that may not have their degrees, and you're not less of a person just because you don't have a degree. It's all about, okay, what creativity do you bring to the table?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that piece of paper gets you in the door, but sometimes in my case, God got
Yeah.
me in the door when I didn't have a piece of paper.
Right.
Yeah.
So that part of my life I would not change. And the only way, you know,
hmm
to, so what I would have had to change to not have gotten my degree was not been a knucklehead with all the partying and the hanging out. So
Yeah.
there was a crazy benefit to all of that, because again, it humbled me to really appreciate and say, okay, Lord, I'm leaning on you because I got nothing.
Exactly. Exactly.
I
Mm.
That's me too, because I know my personality, and I reflect on that a lot all the time. How if I hadn't had to experience the thick glasses, or if I didn't have, you know, to go through some of the things I went through, I probably would have been quite arrogant and quite full of myself. And
Mm.
that's just based on my own self knowledge. I could have been, I could have been a terrible person,
Wow.
yeah,
without having the experiences that I had.
yeah,
So
Mm.
yeah, it's all beneficial. Every experience is significant. So
yep,
yeah, I feel you on that.
Wow.
yeah. So
It
it's
it does make you humble.
Yeah, so it's a two-sided sword or
Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
two-edged
That
sword or two-sided coin. Yeah,
yeah,
but
two-sided coin.
I see it a little different.
Okay, go
Yeah.
for it.
I see it a little differently rather.
Hmm.
Because what you said is, is very accurate. The things that we go through, our
Yeah.
trials and tribulations, tests come to make us stronger. The trying of our faith, is good. Is for our good. Um, but at the same time, as men who, honor God, read the Bible, and try to live up to His word,
I'm supposed to be
Hmm.
doing that. I'm sorry.
we know that the Bible is full of instruction. Proverbs specifically, we'll just
True.
use the Proverbs is full of instruction
True.
Yeah.
about choices that need to be made in order to have a good and godly life.
Yeah.
And so by that token, by what you just said, Ray, some people would opt to say, well, I'd rather just experience the bad part that Proverbs is trying to avoid me from experiencing so that I could become a stronger, better person down later on in life. Why not just do it the right way the first time
True.
and
Hmm.
experience God's best the first time? Because I'm sure He would rather us not have to go through a whole lot of pain and suffering
Oh
to
yeah.
become more aware and more humble instead of just being humble from the beginning.
Oh
But
man.
at the same time, um, I think He gives us latitude because since we're humans, we're going to
Yeah.
do what we do. We're going to make our mistakes,
Right.
and we're going to have our our trial and error. But I think there's a lot of benefit to
Yeah.
choosing the path less traveled as well, and doing things the right way because of the right thing to do, rather than having to bump your head and trip and fall and scrape your knees and all this other stuff
Hmm.
when you really don't have to.
Right. I agree. I agree with that. But I'm just saying, as I look at that now,
Hmm.
but I did the pivot by saying, looking back at myself,
Right.
there are just some lessons, and I know we're all designed and crafted differently. Um, and I think that each one of our relationships with the Lord, mine is not like yours, and it's not
Right.
like Jake. It's not the same. Yes, the
Right.
word is the word,
Hmm.
but I think the way he comes into prayer and deals with Ray is a little bit different because Ray has a makeup
Hmm.
of whatever my past was, my environment that made me, fearful, that made me prideful, that made me
Hmm.
arrogant.
Yeah.
And yes, I could have actually just done it
Hmm.
God's way, the right way the first time.
Yeah.
But like I said, bigger picture is I was just a hard nut to crack.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I knew that, but it didn't take the Lord by surprise.
Right.
So
But.
the roads that I traveled,
Hmm.
and I think the best thing I can say is that I used to give my dad fits, and I never forget the time my mom shared the story with me that one day they were in bed and he jumped up in the middle of the bed late at night and she was like she thought he was having a heart attack. He's like, no, the Lord just told me that Ray's gonna be okay.
Mm.
And I was at
Mm.
my wildest peak, but God was infiltrating me at that time when he
Wow.
had that moment. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, man, nothing catches God by surprise. Yes,
Right.
if we do it the right way the first time, yeah, it's better.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say anybody try to mimic or pattern their life after mine or yours, whatever. Just hear God. Just hear God and trust God with your life.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Me learning how to trust God, for me, it was me doing things my own way and realizing, dude, you keep messing up. So
Hmm.
now I can sit here at 51 and say, okay, Lord, tell me, let's do
Yeah.
this. Because I'm listening.
Hmm.
I'm listening now. Open
And
ears.
Yeah.
and for me, it was that very thing that was messing me up because I was raised, with the godly parents and the godly household, and so I'm learning, do everything the right way. I'm considered the goody two shoes, and and I took on the mindset of holier than thou.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That
Yep.
was me. And so, yeah, when I experienced that fall from that, which goes back to what our viewer said, pride, that's what it was. And God had to show me, okay, yeah, you following this, my word and all, but uh you taking it to extreme.
Yeah.
It's not you, it's me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he showed me that.
So, as our time is winding down, I'll just kind of preclude to this little scenario here.
Mhm.
It had been so much easier talking about Thomas, the disciple. Jesus said he was going to die and he's going to get up
Mhm.
again. Thomas rode with him, he walked with him. So it had been so much easier for him to just believe that when he saw him.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason,
Mm.
his path was nope, I actually got to stick my fingers. I got to see the hole in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
I got to stick my finger in his side to see,
Right.
for me to believe
Mm-hmm.
that this is him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just the road Thomas traveled versus the other ones just saw him, remember what he said, and they believed.
And
So
believe.
So I guess my point in saying using an example is, God just has a way of reaching his children that need to be reached.
He
And
does.
yes, it is easier to do it the right way
Yeah.
the first time.
Mm-hmm.
But to use Thomas' example, no, I gotta handle him. I gotta touch him.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mhm.
once he did all that, then he's like, oh, it is you. So
Yeah.
that being said, we're gonna get ready for our wisdom nugget. We will be off next week.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yep.
But we're coming back on I think it is on the 20th of
20th.
February.
Yep. 20th.
Yep, and we're going to deal with mental health. We have guests that would be in studio with us for mental health.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
And then on
Mhm.
the last Sunday, I think it's the 27th of February, we're going to have a guest to help us talk about forgiveness.
Okay.
So when we return, we'll have back-to-back guests on our show.
That's awesome.
So we
Awesome.
just want
Love it when
everybody
we
to
have
tune.
guests.
Yeah, we want everybody to
Yeah.
tune in, support the guests, listen to what they have to say, chime in. Yeah, all that good stuff. All
The
that good
next
stuff.
week we'll be off. Next
Yep.
Sunday.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, Nate, do you have a wisdom nugget for us?
Yeah, I have one. It's not funny.
Okay, that's cool.
It's just practical wisdom for everyday
Okay.
living.
Okay.
Come on,
If I
wisdom.
may generously share.
All right. Go for it, bro.
Yeah, sure. We often hear in social media and you get all these quotes about, being great and being successful and what it takes to be successful. And a lot of people are stressing themselves out trying to reach a level of success that they see. And I think success needs to be broken down in some simple terms. Here is success. For those of you who are struggling with the idea, the notion, success is this: setting a goal and completing that goal.
Hmm.
That is success. String those together, and you have a lifetime of successes. You are successful setting a goal and completing a goal, no matter how
Like
big or small. Thank you.
I like that.
That's great, Nate. That is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I wish, bro, you could have gave me that wisdom nugget back in the day so I could have paid off that Janet Jackson cassette tape.
Man,
Right. At
trying to tell you,
17.
Janet Jackson need to get an email or something, bro. It's a strongly
Yeah.
worded email.
But that's all
She
right.
might
She
recompense
might
me.
reimburse you now. She nice.
But Chet, I learned my lesson. Everything I purchased of hers after that was cash. So
Crazy.
but all right then, fellas.
Mm.
This is a great
As
conversation,
always,
guys. I hope everybody took
Yes.
something from it today. That was really good. I learned some things listening to you
Yes.
all, and I can put into practice right now.
yeah, you got an amen
Thank
to
you.
that wisdom nugget, Nate.
Amen.
And you got a nice
Amen.
yeah.
I
So, all
take
right,
that from
guys.
her. I take that nice. Yeah.
Y'all have a great week. Be safe. Love your family members, love people,
Yes.
hmm
and trust God.
That's right. Love it.
All right.
Trust
We see
God.
you guys next time, people. Thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate your attendance.
All right.
Yes.
Talk
Like,
to you later.
subscribe. and all that good stuff.
Yeah.